Oh, the dreaded question of how much should you charge for it? This time, how much money should you charge for a website? So I'm in the middle of sending out a couple proposals for website projects, and I have to think about this a lot right now. What should I charge for this specific website? I thought I'll share kind of my thinking process around this with you guys. I know a lot of you are struggling with how much you should charge for your website as well. So here's kind of my framework of thinking about this. First principle about how much money should you charge for your service is as much as you possibly can. Obviously, I mean, it doesn't matter if you do something very, very fast because you're an awesome designer and you're super efficient and it only takes you 1 hour. That obviously doesn't mean that the value of what you're doing is, I don't know, just 1 hour of work, because it took you years to learn that. And so the value of the work that you create got nothing to do with how long it took you to create. You should charge as much as the client possibly values the project. And that kind of leads to the second thing that you need to consider, which is how much value is in this specific website for your customers. Now, there's a lot of ways to think about this, a lot of ways to try and estimate the value. Some of the most basic ones are, hey, let's imagine that your goal is to increase conversion in, I don't know, 10%. So how much more money would you be making if the website converts 10 more percent? And so if that creates $1 million of value for your company, I'm going to base the pricing based on that value. So I can't promise you 10% conversion rate. Otherwise, you'll probably be able to pay me $1 million because that's what I'm going to be making you in the first year alone. But I'm probably reduce that into some kind of a risk factor, something. But I can always anchor my price based on the value that they're hoping to get from it. So if they're hoping to get $1 million in the first year alone, then $100K for that website is not a ridiculous price to ask for. Doesn't even matter how long it took you to create this. So that's the first, basically the first simple way to measure or value the project. But obviously, there are much more complex situations where it's not exactly related to sales or increased revenue. Some things are more brand oriented and are a little bit more vague. And in that case, you really have to kind of probe or investigate your clients to understand what they're looking to achieve with this. What is this really worth to them in terms of how much money they're willing to invest? What's their actual budget for this project? But here's the problem with websites. It's not problem, but it's kind of an added complexity. I think that a website can cost honestly anything. I mean, you can get a website done, in $10 if you're going to go and build it on something like Wix or something like that. But a website can also cost $500,000 if it includes custom animation and shooting a video for it and doing whatever, developing a custom typeface for it. I don't know. It can be something super, super complex. And so you have to always consider what it would cost you in terms of how much effort you're going to invest in this, both time and other, suppliers, freelancers. Are you going to have to work with a photographer, a videographer, a developer, an animator, something like that? So you're going to have expenses. Content writer, for example, I'm now looking to work with content writer to help me write the text in the website. So I have to understand those costs before I even send out the proposal, because if I don't understand those costs, I might, maybe the website is worth $20,000 for my clients, and I'm gonna, send them a proposal for $20,000. But if I don't really understand, my cost structure, what I'm going to have to pay, I might charge them $20,000 and lose, or at least not make profit. And so part of something that you always should be doing, especially before you send out the proposals, is kind of be on top of your own costs in terms of how long things take you to complete and how much the people that you will be working with cost. So if you're working with a photographer, what a photographer usually charge. If you're working with a copywriter, what do they usually charge? Once you have that, you can estimate the scope of the project. Now, when clients come to me, sometimes they would say something, or we can establish that the value for the website is, I don't know, $10,000. And then we'd be talking about the scope and what what does the website actually has to maybe look and feel like. And they'll send me some references of website that I understand it's impossible to do them without, I don't know, $50,000. So what I usually tell my clients is, look, a website is like an apartment. You can have or a house. You can have like a single room apartment, or you can have like a mansion, right? And then maybe right now you only have the money to build like a single room, and you don't have the money to build a mansion right now. Now, you can still make that one room very pretty or very comfortable or very well designed, or you can make trade-offs and say, I want to have like a crappy 3-room apartment or a very nice 1-room apartment. And that kind of helps them to assess the trade-offs that you want to have. So maybe you just want to focus on making one page, a single page that is super, super well designed and includes animation and interactions and stuff like that, rather than try to build 10 pages, but you won't have the resources to make them look great. Now, I don't think that always choosing the like super fancy apartment is the right solution for the customer. Sometimes you have to understand that maybe they don't have the budget right now, that they don't have the timeline to build this amazing mansion, but the website can perform a job unless it has, I don't know, 3 or 5 pages. So you still have to do this, and you have to kind of lower the I would say kind of the investment in furniture and stuff like that. So you have to find creative solutions so that you'll be able to do a website that does solve the client's problem, but also fits the budget or estimated value that they're looking to create with it. So that's how I usually help them understand. Once we establish the value, I help them to understand whether you can buy a mansion or you can buy a 3-room apartment or 1-room apartment, and let's think about the level of design that we can allow for that to achieve the goals. So usually I have this conversation with them, and I always have this conversation with them before I send in the proposal, because you don't want the proposal to be a surprise for them. You want the proposal to kind of finalize the discussion that you had up front. And if they do have a problem with this budget, or if it's not what they're looking for, it's better to establish this on a call before you waste time and write down your proposal. So again, to sum up how I think about this, first of all, I try to establish what is the value for them and try to make sure that the value is high enough so this can be a profitable project for me, by understanding what my costs are and how much this is going to cost me, and see that it is a profitable project. And then try to explain or communicate the trade-offs to them in terms of scope. Should this be a small project but very fine and high-end, or a bigger project and we can't invest in, I don't know, things like custom illustration or that type of stuff. Hope this helps you rethink your next proposal for web projects. Obviously, by the way, I didn't talk about the development part of the website, but I always do this with Webflow. It always makes me super efficient, and so it helps me cut down my costs and become more profitable. If you're looking to learn that, check out my link in the description where you can find how I help you to learn Webflow. Have an awesome day, and I will catch you guys tomorrow.